Everybody tells you that getting old is about losing things. Your strength, your work, yours, and some of that is true. I will not stand up here and pretend otherwise. But nobody tells you about the other kind of losing, the kind you choose. At 75, I sat down and made a list of things I was going to quietly stop doing. Not because I could not do them anymore, because I finally understood they were costing me more than they gave me. 5 things came off that list, and gentlemen, I must tell you, my life got bigger. Not smaller, bigger. Everybody assumes letting go at our age is a defeat, a surrender, one less thing the old man can manage. Tonight, I want to show you why the opposite is true, and give you all 5, so you can decide which ones you are ready to set down. The 5th one is the one my family noticed. It changed how they treated me, and I did not see that coming at all. If you are over 65, comment on the state you are watching from. I read every single one. Here is the first thing I stopped doing. I stopped attending things out of obligation. Now let me be careful, because this one sounds selfish until you hear it properly. I am not talking about your granddaughter's wedding. I am not talking about a friend's funeral. I am talking about the third cousin's barbecue 2 hours away that you dread for a week beforehand and recover from for 2 days after, and that you attend every year, because you always have. For 50 years I went to everything. Every gathering, every party, every obligatory sit-down. And I never once asked myself whether I wanted to be there, because wanting had nothing to do with it. Attendance was a duty, and I was a man who did his duty. Here is what changed my mind. At 74, I sat through one of those afternoons, loud, crowded, nobody I particularly wanted to talk to, my back aching in a folding chair, and I did some arithmetic I had never done before. I figured I had 15 or 20 decent summers left in me. And I had just spent one entire afternoon of one of them mildly miserable out of habit. That is when it landed on me. At 40, an afternoon is nothing. You have thousands of them. At 75, an afternoon is a real portion of what is left. Spending it out of obligation is not generous, gentlemen. It is just careless with something that has gotten precious. So, I started saying no. Warmly, with no excuse attached to it. That is the important part. Not, I'd love to, but my back. Just, I'm going to sit this one out but give everybody my love. And here is what surprised me. Almost nobody minded. 2 or 3 people were relieved, I think, because they had been inviting me out of duty too. Half the obligations in a family are 2 people being polite at each other for 30 years. And the gatherings I did attend, the ones I chose, those changed as well. I showed up awake and glad instead of enduring them. My grandson's birthday, I was the first one there and the last to leave. Because I was not spending my afternoons on things I did not want, I had afternoons left for things I did. That is the whole trade, and it is a bargain. Fewer rooms, more of you in each one. Which brings me to the second thing, and this one I had been doing so long I did not even see it as a choice. I stopped keeping score. Every family has a ledger running, and most of us have been keeping our own private copy for decades. Who called last? Who visited more? Which child remembered the birthday, and which one did not? Who came when I was in the hospital and who only sent a card? I kept that ledger faithfully for 40 years. And I want to tell you honestly what it did for me. Nothing. Not one single good thing. It never once made a child call more often. All it ever did was sit in my chest, adding up. The evening I set it down, my son had gone 3 weeks without calling. And I could feel the old machinery starting. The tally, the small ache, the sentence forming that I would deliver in a mildly wounded voice when he finally did call. Well, it's been a while, hasn't it? And I thought, what am I buying with that sentence? I would get a moment of him feeling guilty. And in exchange, the call would turn cold, and he would dread the next one a little more. and I would have traded a polite conversation for the satisfaction of being right about the ledger. So I stopped. I closed the books. When he called, I said, "Michael, good to hear your voice." Nothing else. No accounting. Gentlemen, he called more. Not because I asked. Because talking to me stopped costing him anything. And the third thing was harder than both of those, because it meant giving up something at which I was genuinely good. I stopped trying to fix my children's lives. I was a fixer my whole life. That was my trade and my nature both. Something broke came to me, I made it right. So, when my daughter was going through a rough stretch in her marriage, and my son was making what I considered a foolish decision about his business, well, I did what I did. I fixed it. Or tried to. Advice they had not asked for. Questions that were really arguments. Solutions laid out at the dinner table like blueprints. And here is what I got for it. My daughter stopped telling me things. Not dramatically, she just went vague. "Oh, we're fine, Dad." My son started managing me instead of talking to me. I will have one more problem this week. The thing that woke me up came from my wife. She said, quietly doing dishes, "They don't need another engineer. They need a father." I did not understand that for a while. Then I did, and it is this. When your grown child brings you a problem, they almost never ask you to solve it. They are asking you to sit with them while they carry it. The solving, that is for men in their 40s with something to prove. What a man our age has that nobody else has is the ability to hear an awkward thing without panicking about it. So, I learned 3 sentences and I use them constantly now. That sounds hard. What are you thinking? And this is the one that took the most disciplined silence, while they figured it out in front of me. I will tell you how hard that silence is. The first time my son laid out a business plan I thought was a mistake, I sat on my hands. Literally sat on my hands at that table, and said, "What's your gut telling you?" It cost me more than any repair I ever made. He worked through it aloud for 20 minutes and arrived, on his own, at about half of what I had told him. And here is the thing. Half, arrived at himself, was worth more than all of it handed over. Because it was his. My daughter tells me things now. Real things. Because there is no risk in it anymore. Now, the fourth thing is one I suspect a lot of you are still carrying tonight, and it is heavier than you think. I stopped defending my life against people who were not there for it. For years, I had a whole case prepared. Why I never finished school. Why did I stay at the same company instead of going out on my own like my brother-in-law? Why did we never move to a nicer part of town? Why did I raise my kids the way I did, in the years I raised them, with what I knew then? And I would trot out pieces of that defense in ordinary conversation, at family dinners, with new acquaintances, sometimes with my own children. Little explanations nobody had asked for. Then one evening a young fellow at church asked me what I had done for a living, and I heard myself deliver the whole apologetic paragraph. The job, and then why the job, and then what I might have done instead. He had asked a simple question. He got a defense attorney's closing argument. And driving home, I finally saw the shape of it. I was still on trial. 50 years after the verdict, there was still argument that nobody in the world was prosecuting anymore. My brother-in-law was not judging me. He had been dead 6 years. My kids were not judging me. They were grateful. The young man at church just wanted to know what I did. The only prosecutor left in that courtroom was me. So I stopped. Now when somebody asks what I did, I say, I was a machinist. 42 years at the same shop. Full stop. No footnotes, no apology, no might have beens. And do you know what happened? People respect it more. A man who states his life plainly sounds like a man who is at peace with it. And after a while of speaking that way, I want you to hear this, I was. And now the fifth thing. The one my family noticed. I stopped pretending I was fine when I was not. Not complaining, mind you, you have heard me on that. The daily drip of aches and grievances drives people away, and I still believe it. But there is a difference between complaining and being honest, and my generation never learned it. We learned one setting, fine. How you feeling, Dad? Fine. Have you been lonely since Mom passed? I am fine. Doctor's appointment goes all right? Fine. I said fine for about 60 years. And I thought I was being strong. What I was doing was locking my family out of my life and then quietly wondering why nobody knew me. Here is the evening it broke. My daughter asked for the 100th time how I was doing since her mother passed. And I was tired, and I did not have the energy for the performance, so I said the true thing. I'm lonely, honey. The evenings are the hardest part. 12 words. And gentlemen, she sat down. She sat down at my table and we talked for 2 hours, and she cried and I did, and something between us that had been polite for years became real again. Now she calls in the evenings. She never said why. She just does. And I want to be clear about what I am asking of you, because it is not much. I'm not telling you to pour out your troubles. 1 true sentence a month is plenty. I've been lonesome lately. That appointment scared me some. I miss your mother today. 1 true sentence gives the people who love you a door. 60 years of fine gives them a wall, and then we stand behind the wall wondering why nobody comes in. That is what I mean about life getting bigger instead of smaller. All those years of fine, I thought I was protecting them. I was just leaving them outside in the yard. So there they are. 5 things I set down at 75. Obligations I did not want. The family ledger. My children's problems. The defense of my own life. And the word fine. Look at that list and notice what it really is. Not one of those was strength. Every one of them was weight, habits I had been carrying so long I'd mistaken them for character. And setting each one down did not make me less of a man. It made room. That is the part nobody tells you about letting go at our age. The world sees an old man giving things up and thinks he is shrinking, he is winding down. But some things you drop because your hands get weak. And some things you drop because you finally figured out they were never worth carrying, and you would like your hands free for something better. 15 or 20 decent summers, gentlemen. Do not spend it on holding luggage which is not yours. You have earned your peace. Set down whatever is standing between you and it. If this spoke to you, subscribe, because next I am telling you about the conversation I had with my son when he was 50 and I was 78. 1 hour, 1 kitchen table, and 40 years of things we had never said. It is the most important hour of my life, and I will tell you exactly how it started. Take care of yourself. I will see you in the next one.